Doing?
Great.
All right. All right. Well, I'm going to show you some pictures of that I've taken myself of remediations and discovery of mold. This first one is in a laundry room, and mold had been growing in this back area for a while. It was a small leak, and this is what the back of the board looks like. So I had to cut the whole area out and pull the insulation out to get it all out and then remediate the area. I'll talk about that. This is another picture of it. This is under a bathroom sink.
Now we've all seen this.
Yeah, and this is a common area in houses as well. Bathrooms, kitchens, laundry rooms, attics, crawl spaces are really famous. But I did not test to see what type of mold this was, but I did remediate it. And on this one, this was more of a surface mold. It didn't get through to the other side. Because when I popped the board to make sure it was fine. So the product I use kills it and it seals the wood so nothing else can grow back there. And this was under the kitchen sink.
Same house.
Yeah, fun house. And the dishwasher was next to it, and I thought it was coming from the dishwasher, but there's no mold on that side. After I moved the dishwasher to see, and this was coming from, there was a prior leak, that's why this is here, but this was coming from things that people store under their in their cabinets. And this is a crawl space. Got some mold growth on the beams and wood.
Now I have a question.
Sure.
So when we get moisture and termite inspections done and they spray for like the fungus stuff, because they can't say mold, right?
Right.
So when we spray for that, does it kill mold also when they do that?
Not necessarily. It depends on the product they use. It would say it on the label if it does or not. If they're spraying strictly for fungus, they what's that stuff called? It's green when they spray it on the wood so they don't miss anything, and that's strictly for fungus
Okay.
and wood destroying insects and stuff like that. But not for mold. So fungus and mold do look different. Fungus is more like hairy looking, fuzzy, and mold obviously looks like this. Is can be black, can be pink, can be I've seen green, I've seen yellow, I've even seen orange and pink mixed together. But it spreads out, and the way mold works is when it lands in perfect conditions, it's got its food and its water. Its food source is the wood, and the water is the moisture in the air or in the wood itself. It trindles out and it just starts eating it out. Yeah. So mold it doesn't take long. Within 48 hours, you have a colony. Even though it's a small spot, you have a colony.
That we just can't see.
Well, it would just look like a spot and you're like, oh, that's not, anything, if you're even under there to check. Because not many people who have crawl spaces actually crawl in their crawl space to look. And and then termite companies are supposed to, when you have your animal, and most of them don't. They just
They can't see everything.
yeah.
And they're not mold specialists.
No, they're not mold specialists, but it would be nice if they see something, that maybe this is a picture and maybe you might want to get someone to check that out. That would be nice, because before you know it, people have let that go for so long, and that little spot turned into this giant problem. And at that point, you have to remediate a whole crawl space. And you have to hit every pieces of wood. Insulation's got to go and stuff like that. And that's where it gets pricey. So this was the cause of the mold in this crawl space. This was an add-on, this section.
Oh, so in addition.
Yeah. And on the other side, they had mold and there was air just flowing through. Because the previous picture and this one I'm showing you right now, this is the only spots that they had mold in the addition side. On the other side is where they had a lot of mold, and what caused it was, like I said, people don't go in their crawl spaces a lot. You have insulation falling, you have all the piping, but it's your a big problem with crawl spaces is when people put duct line in their crawl space, they're actually constricting airflow. You need airflow in your crawl spaces. It's very important to prevent wood rot. Is very important to prevent mold.
Does mold need oxygen to grow, or?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just curious.
yeah, definitely does. Because there's some companies that have those nitro where it freezes the mold and then they get rid of it. Those are expensive. We looked into that. That was a $10,000 machine. And that sucks all the oxygen out. So
basically I can kill it with an ozone machine.
you can help keep it down.
Interesting.
Yeah. In the same crawl space, they had compromised duct lines like this, which with the way this works is you got your cold air or your hot air, depending on the season. We'll just go with summer. That's where we're at. You got your cold air running through your duct line. Your crawl space's temperature is a little bit different. It'll cause condensation, which falls, and depending on how this one was kind of bad, it'll build up down here. When it evaporates, it only to go up, and it goes into the wood, which causes the extra moisture, which causes the wood to grow mold. Then along the duct lines, you have this was not sealed correctly. Again, air exchange difference will cause mold. Even on the system itself, there just that little bit can cause an issue. I think that might have actually been your parents' house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yes, this is your parents' house. Okay. This is another thing that can cause mold. This is your exhaust from your bathroom. So when this roof was replaced, there was no ridge vents put on, which when this was installed, this probably had a ridge vent, and that is fine because the air is going up and out. I just recommended they had an attic fan for this just to move over to the attic fan area. So it has that escape and not go up into this nice wood and making it look terrible and grow mold. This is a rental property. This is that one I was telling you about with the registers. It's a townhouse in Virginia Beach. This is from water getting in. Sorry. This is from water getting in through the back door here. It wasn't sealed correctly. So that caused the wood rot and it caused the mold issue right there. And this is, it's underneath, same place, their bathroom sink. There's in their kitchen as well. That's already fixed. Done. Okay, so another issue that I have been called on and seen is these are registers. This one had gaps going all the way around, and that can cause mold on the ceiling. You want these sealed because there is a difference of air coming through. So you want these sealed so this does not cause that type of issue.
Do we so what happens if the air grows in the ductwork?
Oh, if mold grows in the ductwork?
Yeah.
Okay. The best way to detect that, if you kind of look around your house, you've been feeling horrible, or you got a kid that is always got allergy issues and seems to be sick all the time and they can't figure it out, I would recommend an air quality test to see if there is an issue with the air, and the person who does that should look in all the suspect places, attics, crawl spaces.
Yes. Question.
Yes.
Sorry, when you do the air quality test, how do you tell that the problem's inside the house?
Well,
because it's just an air quality, like just curious.
right. That's if the remediator
Um,
doesn't find an issue on the inside and they still want to, at that point for that customer, it's mostly a peace of mind, you know, and they can kind of figure it out. Because if a good person who is going to test the air should also inspect the property, attics, if there's a crawl space, checking around the registers, the duct lines. You can look inside the registers to see inside that part of the duct line if you see anything growing in there, or if it's rusted, there's an issue going on because those shouldn't be rusted like that. Too much moisture. Bathrooms are famous for harboring mold. I mean, so if you find it and you do the air testing, and then the people who get the results back, and this is what they look like. This is one of my reports I got back from the lab. When I do my air testing, it's actually sampling. The lab does the testing part. I take 2 samples. I take one indoors, usually around the intake, and one outside. Because preferably you want more mold outside than you do inside. So the lab needs a baseline, and the outside air is what gives them that. They grow the mold for a couple days, put it under a microscope, and these are the results I get. This was in the hallway, which was by the intake. So it's a not really high count, but it's right at that area where it's going to start getting out of control. Because ideally you want green or nothing at all. Nothing else should be in like a brand new home. And then this was also did a swab sample in the crawl space. It did have mold growth. It was aspergillus, I'm so bad at these things, Chatomium, and Uratomium. I'm not, no, I didn't want to be a doctor. So in the hallway, it was broke down even more. It was penicillium and aspergillus in the air. Plasmodium, which is an outdoor mold, basidospores are an outdoor mold. Even this Chatomium, sorry about my pronunciation of things. Those are outdoor molds, which can grow indoors under the right conditions, but you can bring more mold in just by walking from the outside to the inside. So you can actually have nothing wrong with your, yeah, you can have nothing going on in your house from, like a roof leak or anything like that, and you can still grow mold somewhere because you brought it in. Yeah, I mean, not to scare anybody. I mean, it's just pollen is a mold, and you can't get away from it. There's hundreds of thousands of different types of spores. It's just, it needs the right atmosphere, the right stuff for it to start growing and colonizing. It's like any other life form. It wants to live too, but not in my house or anybody else's. Right? So there are definitions with my reports that the lab sends. Because you really want to have a low score, and you want to have a level 1, especially if it's affecting health. But see how these are high, the aspergillus in the crawl space. These are high, and that could be remediated, which I did do. And where's the definitions? Because I want to get to those really quick. Because there are some molds that can cause health issues, usually in children and older people, because they're inside all the time. All right. Yep. Here we go. So penicillin, that is a mold, we get the shot if we get strep throat, grows on cheese, makes all that stuff. So there we go. All right. So, but some people are allergic to it. Eddie was allergic to it. So Alternaria, Okay, that is,
Alternaria.
yeah, it's got 40 to 50 different species. So just because it's one name doesn't mean it's just one thing. It can have like spread below it, all these different species. Yeah, most of them are dispersed by air. You know, the wind goes and it goes with it. Outdoors, it's in your soil, it's in leaves, you know, you're walking out in the woods somewhere, you're walking through it more than likely. Um, so it's everywhere. It's always where moisture is, it needs moisture. So it's using decay. This one I don't come across that often. Acromonium.
Acromonium.
But it's got 80 to 90 different species. It says produces wet slimy spores. You won't be able to feel them anyway. But it goes through water droplets. It says insects. But it can also, even when it's dry, it can go by air. And the way mold works, if you walk by it, it spews out its spores and it goes with you. It goes with the flow of air and it keeps on going until it lands on something. Sometimes it lands on things and it doesn't do anything and just dies. Other times it finds exactly what it needs and then it starts growing.
Aspergillus.
Yeah, aspergillus, that's a penicillium. This is this one can cause health issues. So thinking of definition.
No, that's okay.
That's okay, but that one can yeah. Now there's one mold that can cause a hardening of the capillaries in your lung. It's called Stachybotrys. It was not in this this report, but it's one of the toxic ones. You can, all mold can be toxic if it's concentrated enough and if someone's actually allergic to it. But this one is a toxic one. It's got mycotoxins. You can find them in office buildings. With poor ventilation, water fountains, sprinkler systems, and stuff like that. It's got the right temperatures. And aspergillus, it's got 22 subspecies that are known to cause illnesses. It's me personally, I haven't found a mold I'm allergic to because I can go and just get sprayed in the face and be okay. I don't want to be sprayed in the face, but you know, sometimes when you're taking a sample and around underneath it and you know it's poured out on your face, it's just like whatever. We got basidiospores. And this is a common one. It's around our area. And we do have a wet, humid area. Florida's much, much worse than we are, but in the way the world is changing and our water table is getting higher, and now we're getting more rain and more coastal flooding. Things, yeah, and El Nino, we got the hurricanes, and just, you know, a microburst can knock a tree branch through somebody's roof who's on vacation, and then they get back and they've already got mold everywhere that they just, you know, they walked home or got home and walked into. So when it's that bad, it's best just to seal off the room, have someone, a professional mold remediator, come assess the situation. Then walls and ceilings have to go, and the wood behind can be treated. I personally use a board care with mold care. I give everyone a guarantee of 2 years, barring like a flood or a pipe burst or, you know, excessive water, because it will wash the product away. But I give 2 years, and the company that makes it gives everybody 20 on the bottle, and it's good stuff. It smells like an orange swimming pool to me. It's not stinky or whatever. All right, so after I remediated that property, this is like a week later, because you want to give it some time And remember, this was at 200 in New Orange. So it's going away, it's dying, and that's what you want to see. Even the counts have gone down. I do recommend, if you've done the test beforehand and it was remediated, I would do the second testing just to make sure, because this is what you want to see. Where I said everything in the green and it's just going away. It takes a little time, but it just goes away.
You test the air quality in the same spot that you took the original test in?
Yes, yeah.
Just curious, sorry.
It's best to, because that's where the problem was, and they didn't need they didn't want a swab sample that time. So that's how that works. So suspect places of mold is laundry rooms, wherever there's piping, basically, laundry rooms, kitchens, bathrooms, even around windows, because you would need, like, some windows need to continuously be sealed around the frames and everything to keep that air from the outside coming in. Seen that several times. Registers should be sealed. See, like yours are sealed, the way they dropped in. When people take showers or baths during the winter, a lot of people won't use the exhaust fan because it's cold. Problem with that is all that moisture is being trapped in that bathroom. That will cause mold. And nobody really knows this until you look up above the shower and what's that black stuff? Well, that's mold because the exhaust fan wasn't used. Or if all they have is a window, they don't want to keep the window open during winter or during the summer. But that will cause mold. That will cause the mold because that moisture is being built up in that bathroom. Laundry rooms are like in a townhouse, it's usually downstairs and they just got the doors. I recommend at least one louvered door, because even though like the dryer is sealed, it's going out or whatever, it's still putting moisture in the air. When you're washing your clothes, it's still putting moisture in the air. And if those doors are closed, and not everybody's diligent, or is like bad washer dryer machine and they're loud or whatever, people close the door, still don't have to hear it, but that's causing the buildup of the moisture and basically causing like a subtropical atmosphere for it to grow in.
So I have a weird question. So I recently had an HVAC person tell a client of mine that there was mold in the HVAC system and there was nothing he could do about it, and recommended the HVAC system being replaced.
Well,
I mean, does it have to be replaced? Like,
well, not necessarily. There are okay, number one, if the HVAC guy is not certified in mold, he should not be saying that it's mold.
okay, fair enough, fair enough.
If they're not certified, even the home inspector, even a plumber, even though that they have experiences with that, they should not be calling mold and freaking people out. That's my job to do, not to freak people out, but to let them know whether they got it or not. And so what I would recommend with an HVAC, screen mold and everything's got to be changed out, is to get a mold inspector out there for them to assess the situation and see if it truly is. And if it is, it could, and it's nowhere else. It's to say it's just like
It's in the ducts.
it's just in the ducts. Okay, it's not from anything but just like bad wrapping, and it caused all that. I have a company that I recommend, and he's pretty good at helping them out. And he's an air ducts, dryer vent. It's Dana. He does all that stuff, and he'll let you know if he can't do it. And when he means by that, those lines may be that old that his machine will tear it up, or it could have insulation. That weird ones that have the insulation on the inside, which is really odd to me. And then he would recommend those being changed out at that point.
But they can be cleaned.
Yes, they can be cleaned.
Potentially.
Yeah, potentially. And then I would recommend an air quality test like a couple weeks later to make sure that everything was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anyone online have any questions? Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
What about like,
Mm.
because bathrooms grow a lot of mold, but like, what about the like the black stuff in the caulk lines in
That
the shower?
that's mildew.
Well, what's the difference?
Well, mold is a fungus, and it can't grow on caulking. It's really weird. It can grow on just about anything. It can grow on your clothes, grow on your shoes, can grow on your body. It's filamented, so it's like,
Has a different growth.
yeah, it's like a different type of growth. And the material has to be organic.
For mold to grow?
Yep, material has
So
to
it
be
doesn't
organic,
grow on,
like leather, paper, ceilings were organic.
so but it won't grow on like plastic?
Right. That's a totally different thing because it's not
Really?
organic. Yeah. So it won't grow on plastic.
Huh,
But it stains just like mildew does. It will stain.
interesting.
Yeah,
So
so
it
like,
can't grow on silicone.
right. Just organics. It likes the real stuff. It don't want the fakes.
So what about like, UV light? I see a lot of people putting UV lights in their house.
And you know, that does kill it. A lot of them put, those are expensive though, man. Put them through your trunk lines and your duct lines. I mean, I've known people who've done that. Like out in Duck, North Carolina. And that dude told us how much he put in, but he also had bank to do, and it was like a $10,000. I'm like, what? But it works because mold cannot grow in sunlight. It kills it.
Okay,
So UV light is, you know, like,
it's concentrated.
yep, flip the system and there you go. You know, I mean, it's still a process. It's still a slow process, just like anything else, but you know, it does do its job. Air purifiers help keep things down. Like I say, it cures the air, but it helps keep things down, just like the ionizer would help keep it down.
I mean, obviously you can't live with an ozone machine turned on, your house will pass out.
Right, right.
Don't do that.
I mean,
I learned that the hard way one time when I turned one on and forgot to lock the back door, tried to go back to the house. It didn't work. It didn't end well, guys. Don't do it.
stupid. But I mean, unless you live in hermetically sealed house with no plumbing and you have some way to get your mouth exhaust out, because every human, okay, a family of 4 puts 4 gallons of moisture in the air every day. Every day. Cooking, cleaning. Well, I mean, washing your laundry, taking a shower, using the bathroom, just talking, coughing, anything. And that's why HVAC system helps pull that extra moisture out, you know, because you gotta have that base level of, you know, you gotta have so much moisture, but you don't want to have so much moisture,
Right?
you know, because if your house is too dry during the summer, you can cause wood rot or dry rot.
Oh,
Yeah. So there's balance. And we just don't think about it because, you know, it's automatic for us.
so can I use like bleach
I
to
don't
kill mold?
I don't recommend bleach. I mean, it's like 50-50 on the internet, but I don't recommend bleach because number one, it smells horrible. But number two, it doesn't really kill it. Like to keep it away, kill it. Bleach is mostly water. Bleach comes from rock quarries. You know, when they're sitting there and they're drilling out and everything, it was bleach and everything. So they basically bottled it up and they started using that, you know, because it is good for whitening stuff and disinfections and stuff like that. But when the bleaching effect evaporates, it goes quicker than water, leaves that water behind. And what mold it didn't kill or, you know, get a hold of or whatever, it just basically turned it white for a little bit and then it's left the water for it to grow. It didn't actually kill it.
Interesting.
For small jobs like that one picture I showed you, like here on the ceiling, you can use peroxide, straight peroxide in a rag and clean that area off. It doesn't kill it, but it gives you 3 days, like 72 hours to because once you clean it off, it's in the rag. Okay, so I'm explaining it kind of weird. So it's in the rag. You clean it off, it's in the rag. All right, so it's no longer on your ceiling because it will kill it at, it's not like it kind of like makes it go to sleep. And it comes off and then it's in the rag. Now you need to get that rag out of the house because in 72 hours it's gonna wake back up and it's gonna go wherever you put it. So let's just say you put that rag out in your garage, and I'll get back to it later, and it dries out. You don't think nothing of it. It can still.
Okay, so the laundry room that you showed us pictures of.
Uh-huh.
It's in the insulation, it's on the back of the drywall.
Mhm.
How much insulation and drywall for that section do you have to remove to get rid of the mold? Because now we have to get rid of things, right?
Yeah. So in this section, I cut and all the way to the corner, which was to the left, probably about a foot, and took all that out. I cut up until I couldn't see nothing but clear drywall. And then I just pulled all that insulation out, like all of it. So I cut until I couldn't see it anymore. And that's because that was contained. Now, if it was on the other side and it was in the whole room, I'd have to, the steps I would have to do is I'd have to seal off the room, which is closing the door, putting plastic over it, remediate that side of the wall, pull that down and spray at the same time because it's on the other side too. So what I'm trying to do is prevent it from kicking up into, because I am gonna have to leave, or whatever. I don't want to carry bad
Spread
stuff.
it?
Yeah, I don't want to spread it because put everything in bags and I, tie those off really tight and then discard them off property.
Interesting.
So that one's a little bit more into it.
Okay.
And I have walked away from potential jobs before because they're just too big or the people are too nasty, like the people I was telling you about this morning. I think that, okay, quick story. We've been doing this for over 10 years now. So it was one of our first ones, and older couple, and walked up onto a property before we were even at the front door. You could smell mold because
What does it smell like?
musty. Like it to me it smells like a musty old person with pee.
Ew.
Yeah. And they were older people, but it's not because of them. There's mold on the outside of the house. It was black. And then we walk in and it was everywhere. I mean, just like ceilings, walls, throughout the whole house.
A horror movie.
Yeah. And we did the air sampling and then she didn't want to pay. And she I think it was making her crazy. Her poor husband was just, she ruled the roost, he did not. And but yeah, it can affect health wise, it can affect cognitive thinking.
That's long-term exposure.
That's not, or that bad. Holy,
Yeah.
holy moly. Had one customer, she was told she was pregnant. She was told she had lupus because she just didn't feel right and they're trying to get to the bottom of it, and she wasn't buying that. And we went and did an investigation and air testing, and come to find out her and her husband brought the mold over from Italy. It was on their furniture. He was in the military, and over there in Italy, she said they just kind of live with it over there. I don't know why. And she found somebody, I don't remember who, this is a long time ago, in upstate Virginia, that she took that test to, the testing that I was showing you, what kind of molds was in the air. And they got it out of her before she had the baby. She didn't have lupus. It was the mold was affecting her, making her feel like that because it can get into your bloodstream and cause issues as well. But some people are just not allergic to it too.
Is there like a specific humidity that you have that? Is it possible? Is it even possible?
Well, if you don't believe it, it's possible.
Feel myself in.
Yeah, seal yourself and don't cook. Don't use microwave because microwaves heat up the moisture in your food. So yeah, it's just, and nothing to be scared about. It is an everyday occurrence and it's everywhere and you can't get away from it. You know, I mean, it's not like you can lock your door and put salt at it and keep the mold demons away, you know? It just, you just can't get away from it.
Mm.
And getting fresh air helps out a lot physically, because you're breathing better air than what's in your house.
Oh,
If,
sure.
you know,
Good exchange.
air exchange, you should have 4 to 5 exchanges of air every hour in a house. So like if you're running your system, it should, it's, and you're like, oh, my system's running so much, there's a reason why it actually is, because there's a humidity detector supposed to be inside HVAC systems that help put that on too. So yeah,
Interesting. I didn't know that.
attic fans are good to have. Because you could set the moisture on that. It should be like, I don't know, the moisture in your attic during the summer probably starts, you know, getting, when it gets hot up there, it'll kick on like about 60%
Okay,
in
so
the air.
we've all heard the term black mold.
Mhm.
What is it?
It's just for you to be scared. Because some molds are black and they're not toxic. Some funguses are black and, well, all funguses aren't toxic, but yeah, some molds are black. And I think it's just
So what
to
are they
be,
referring to when they say black mold, like the bad kind?
well, yeah, and everybody thinks that, oh my God, that mold is black. It's got to, you know, it's got to be the toxic one, but not necessarily. Not necessarily. When it comes to mold, it's really how your body reacts to it, how healthy you are. Just what you're allergic to, what you're not allergic to. Um, and even that changes in your body over the years as you get older, and then you're indoors more. You're on different medicines for blood thinners, and then, you know, just different things like that. But it's just a word that started being labeled with it mostly because of media.
Interesting. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't think we're down.
Yeah, I had put it in the chat, but I
Oh.
know you mentioned, no, it's fine. I know you mentioned that bleach isn't a good product as far as killing mold. How about vinegar?
Vinegar is good. It's an acid base. I wouldn't say it's a permanent solution.
Hmm.
It's, you know, for like a immediate recourse, just like the peroxide would be.
Okay,
Yeah, it's just basically which one actually smells better.
okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but you're welcome. Okay.
I'm trying to think.
Oh, crawl space. Let me get back to that really quick with the
Mhm.
trunk lines being in a crawl space. So what's happening in your crawl space, you got a few things going on. Or they, with that being in there, you're constricting airflow. So it's when in a great crawl space, you have nothing in it except for your vapor barrier, some plumbing lines, and then you got your ventilation vents on the outside,
Mhm.
your foundation vents on the outside. And if there's no bushes around them,
Mhm.
and it can get perfect air, then you have a perfect crawl space. Okay.
Yeah, but
Then people start putting botany on the outside and putting it up against the house, 3 feet away. 3 feet away. Got to keep it 3 feet away or leave those the foundation vents open to air. So you have that. Okay, but keep it away from those openings. And inside, when you have trunk lines inside, the air is flowing through, right? And then it stops where these trunk lines are. So that air that's supposed to be flowing in and out of your crawl space is being constricted by that. So then that's when you would have to install, have somebody install crawl space fans. I'm sorry, what?
humidifier?
Well, the thing about a dehumidifier, okay, like there's companies out there that will encapsulate a crawl space. Okay. 2 reasons I don't recommend that. Number one, you're not going to see what's going on the other side of that. So you can have termites, you can have stuff going on between the plastic and in your inside of your foundation. Okay. Another reason I don't recommend it, encapsulation, you go on vacation, you come home, You had a busted pipe that has been busted since you've been gone. Now you got a swimming pool in your crawl space. And that moisture just went straight up into all your subfloor, which either rotted it out or started the mold process. Because it didn't have anywhere for that water to go. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, there's no way for it to leave.
Right, right. So it's in, but it, and then the humidifiers that they put into that is only for so many feet of that area around it. So it's not pulling unless there's a push-pull effect going through at the same time. Like you could put a dehumidifier and the crawl space fans. That would be good because that air is flowing. Otherwise, a dehumidifier is only doing the area that it's around,
Right,
and then that's
Well,
it. So you can
so
have.
hang on. Sorry, my whole brain is working overload. Okay, so, because we see it, and I'm sure everyone on here can agree with me, we see it fairly often with like moisture and termite companies, where instead of installing fans, because they don't install the fans, they just put a dehumidifier down there without encapsulating it.
It's still not
It's
gonna have
almost
that.
useless.
Yeah, it's still not gonna have that push-pull effect. To me, I mean, because it only goes so far out of the air that it's pulling. Because it's not that, I mean, it's a strong system, but it's not that strong, you know? So like the corners of your house aren't getting it underneath. And you'll find it there.
Okay.
So really with the crawl space for me, it would be vapor barrier, 10 mils really good.
Mhm.
You do the good thick stuff right there. All tiger teeth down into the ground and everything. But not leave like an inch or two away from the foundation because you're still gonna have that you know that the moisture going in and out.
Mhm.
You know, sand is good. You know, if you got a good amount of sand, you don't necessarily need a vapor barrier.
Okay.
But vapor barriers are nice because okay, so the process with sand, you got groundwater comes up, especially when it rains a lot, and then the sand distributes out and then it sucks it back down, right? Well, you could do sand and vapor barrier, and then
Hey guys, this goes straight into like the reason that you get percolation tests before you build a house. This is what a perk test is to see how fast the ground can pull water away from the surface.
yeah, and you want your ground on the outside of the houses
To run away.
to run away. Yeah. Then when people mess with their properties and
What kind of certifications do you have to do mold remediation?
oh, it's certified mold remediation. It's this. The CMI certified mold inspector. I've got that. There's one more. Oh, my internet connection is unstable. There's one more too. I can't remember what it is, but I got them all. Hold on. Here we go. Well, your internet is slow. All
It's
right.
really slow, sorry
Yeah.
guys.
So it's a CMRC, which is Certified Mold Remediation Certificate. The CMI, this is Certified Mold Inspector, and the CHST, which is a Certified Health something. I think it's health testing. Mhm. So CHST,
How
yes.
much does it cost to get an air quality test?
Okay, an air quality test for me is $475. And the process is I've got this machine and it pulls air 15 milliliters per second for 5 minutes through a cartridge, which is sealed. I have to buy that from the lab. It's sealed, and in the middle of the cartridge, it has like a little catcher in there. So it catches all the air. All right. Then I seal those sides up. from the testing, and then I label it and I send those to the lab. I do one indoors and one outdoors. Sometimes I have to do more indoors depending on the size of the house and, customer needs and stuff like that. Then I send it to the lab, and depending on the day, the holiday, if there's been a snowstorm or, some like weird weather thing, I get it within 3 days, sometimes
Typically.
2. Yeah, typically. And I get it via the internet, and this is the report. So my fee covers cost of equipment, my time, and lab fees. So it's not anything extra for, like that's mine. And then, this is what the lab's gonna charge you. It's not like that. So that the 475 covers everything.
Have you ever worked with an insurance company on a claim like this?
Usually what I do, I've had people call for, they want to put a claim in. Now a lot of insurance companies, you gotta really read, they won't cover mold.
Okay,
Because
now we have. That's what-
because mold became a big issue, like a really big issue,
Yeah,
because
the whole
everything started
media scared.
changing. Oh yeah, even before that though, like Suzanne Summers, she was sick for the longest time. It was coming from her house. She actually had it burnt to the ground.
Oh my
That's
God.
really the best way to get rid of get rid of mold, is just burn it. But the insurance companies were losing they were losing their accounts. I mean, like big time. And then there has to, whatever their extenuation circumstances are. So what I read is when the people like
Is it
homeowners,
considered like part of the water damage?
that's what you say.
Okay.
You don't say, I think I have mold, because they're not gonna really want to talk to you at that point. I've got
remember-
a water leak, I've got moisture damage. I need someone to come and check this out and see how much. There's wordplay with them to get what you want.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
So,
I'm not gonna play that game because I'm not
No.
an insurance agent.
well, no, you don't mention mold at all. You just,
It's so
because
people are so- I know that, one of our home inspectors, for Lynn, is now certified for mold.
good.
But I know that quite a few years ago, it was kind of weird, like you couldn't do both there for a while at one point.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They got out of home inspections.
Interesting.
Yeah, because you couldn't do both. And if I'm gonna see it, I'm gonna let you know.
Yeah,
know?
do it both, but.
Yeah. But that's why we got out of that.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Nope.
All right, well, I think we're gonna wrap it up. We only have 10 minutes left. If anybody has any questions at all or wants Rebecca's contact information, please let me know.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. This was great
Thanks.
information.
No problem.